In The Sopranos, New Jersey mob boss Tony Soprano faces the challenge of steering his ship as best he can, in spite of being in charge of volatile subordinates like Christopher, Paulie and Ralph Cifaretto. In Season 3, Tony's problems in his workspace meshes with his problems at home, as his daughter is dating Jackie Jr. Jackie Jr., historically immortalized as a dumb fuck, is the son of former Jersey boss Jackie Aprile, Tony's close friend. Jackie's father is remembered fondly by his friends, and though we see a little of him in the show, when he wasn't golfing at the US Open, he appears to have been a good boss until his health began deteriorating. Junior's accolades, on the other hand, include almost drowning in 3 inches of water and repeatedly testing Tony's patience, such as when he catches him with a stripper. Jackie's father never wanted a life for him and wanted his boy to be educated, something Tony encourages. Out of respect to Jackie's father, Tony, to his credit, does try with Jackie Jr., but it proves difficult and things get even harder when Ralphie dates Jackie's mother and tries to connect with the boy. Jackie Jr. is quite an interesting character. On one hand, he is in pre-med, studying for a bachelor's, as his father would have wanted. On the other hand, the best he can come up with in Scrabble is poo and ass. When he's popped and drowns in 3 inches of snow, somehow he doesn't see the massive parade float floating towards him blocking out the sun. He gets killed with a toy gun with absolutely no blowback. Vito sucked in that recoil like he sucked off that security guard. He's strong, that helps. A pathetic end for a loser of a character, but in his final moments with the little girl, a playful side emerges from Jackie Jr., a sign of what kind of life he could have possibly had if he wasn't so lazy and easily seduced by the life. It's infuriating how much is handed to him on a plate and yet he screws up, but it's a commentary on the children of mob bosses. His father would have grown up in relatively tougher times where violence would have gotten him forward in life, but the likes of Jackie Jr. and AJ had easier, spoiled lives, and as a result they lack essential life skills. They want things quick and easy, best symbolized by Jackie Jr. throwing the chess pieces rather than continuing the game. How else is he going to learn, as Omar says? Couple that with Jackie Jr.'s sense of entitlement, thinking his father's name will carry him in life, and what you're left with is a kid that screams at penguin exhibits. Ralph's attempts at playing the stepdad include telling Jackie Jr. stories about his father, in particular the card game robbery, which fast-tracked his progression, which Jackie Jr. tries to emulate. The issue of whether Ralph was intentionally trying to set up Jackie Jr. here, or was simply playing the cool dad, is something we've discussed in another video, so be sure to check it out and subscribe to the channel while you do so, out of respect to my father. But Jackie's card game robbery doesn't quite have the finesse that his father's did, as he leaves a made guy shot, the card dealer dead, his friend killed, and he himself on the run. Both Tony and Ralph know that he can't be allowed in their social club no more. In fact, he's gotta go! Which brings us to one of the very best one-on-one conversation scenes in the show. There are many excellent examples of this in the series, and we've dissected several of them on the channel, like Johnny Sack asking Carmine to sanction a hit on Ralph, or Chris and Tony's argument after Adriana was caught with a big man, almost catching, not pitching. This, we can assume, occurs the day after Jackie Jr.'s card game, and what it essentially is a chess match between arguably the 2 most intelligent characters in Tony's crew. Tony is a master manipulator, as this scene proves, where he completely outwits Ralph. But Ralphie is no slouch himself, devious and cunning, and out of all of Tony's men, he's the one guy who could potentially get the best of Tony in a duel of words. Ostensibly, this scene is about 2 concerned men trying to decide what best to do with Jackie Jr., and both seemingly in agreement that the boy should be given another chance. As father says, hate the sin, not the sinner. But what's actually happening is that both men already know that Jackie Jr. is a dead man. He shot at a made guy. He killed Sunshine. There's no 2 ways about it. Plus, Tony was fed up with him. And since when did Ralph care what Tony thinks? He's been off the reservation the entire season, winding Tony up. And now all of a sudden he's walking in, playing the loyal soldier. Killing Jackie isn't the question. It's who gives the order. What the 2 men are trying to do is pass off the responsibility of the hit onto the other. The entire scene is like a tennis match. Essentially, every other line is each man trying to bait the other into saying, yeah, he's gotta go. Both men will have their reasons. There's something sick and unholy about taking out the son of the former boss. Plus, Tony was close with Jackie's father. He doesn't want that guilt on him. And Ralph is dating Jackie's mum. He knows the world of pain that is coming for her once Jackie goes. And I genuinely believe, to an extent, that Ralph wanted Jackie to live. Or, more to the point, killing him was at least difficult for Ralphie. In his own irresponsible way, he did try with Jackie Jr. like Tony did, except he was pushing him into the life. And after Jackie goes into hiding, there is a scene between Ralph and Rosalie where Ralph is struggling to keep it together, knowing Jackie Jr. has to die. It's easy to write off Ralph as a sociopath, as he did beat a girl to death for, I forget, what was it again? But the point is, he shows a lot of emotion throughout the show, and he's hurting in this scene. And later you do get a stressful scene where Ralph comes home and is trying to console Ro, which is contrasted with a relaxed scene of Tony arriving home just a few scenes later, or maybe even the next scene, arriving home to calm and saying, oh, something smells good. It's the result of that meeting, how it's affected the Rosalie household and how it's affected the Sopranos household. So this masterful scene, full of innuendo and doublespeak, starts off with Silvio saying something like, what did we say? Suggesting Tony's attack was planned. Ralph sets the mood and tries to get an emotional preemptive persuasion in there nice and early before they've even sat down by mentioning the state of Jackie's mother and trying to shift blame onto Jackie's environment.
It's terrible, huh?
Yeah.
Ro's going nuts over this. She knows he hangs around with this punk Dino and the other one.
Both feel each other out, no one going in hard.
This kid, he did a terrible thing.
In other words, he has to die. Tony then delivers the first swing,
Your fucking card game.
essentially saying, yeah, and you have to kill him. Ralph, quickly back over the fence.
I know how close you are to the family.
In that, I know how hard this is going to be for you, but Tony's not having it.
I feel for you. You're living under the same roof.
Meaning, no, it's going to be hard for you because you're doing it. Ralphie concedes.
I know it was my card game.
Ralph plays up the heinousness of Jackie's action, wanting Tony to follow this up by giving the order.
But what happened to Sunshine? It's a disgrace.
Tony is silent, so Ralph plays his card, toying with the idea of giving Jackie Jr. a pass, not wanting to be responsible for Ro losing her only son, wanting Tony to respond in incredulous bemusement, saying, no way, you gotta do this, Ralph.
But tell you the truth, Tony, I want to give the kid a pass.
If you see enough of The Sopranos, you notice that James Gandolfini puts on a certain kind of voice when he's doing fake concern, and he does it throughout this conversation.
Yeah?
In other words,
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
Ralph pushes the trigger button further and further into Tony's direction, telling him he's a manager and he'll do it if he's forced by Tony.
It's just me, though. I know you got bigger concerns. You're the boss. I'll make sure your orders are done, whatever they may be.
Tony pushes it back in Ralph's court, telling him the decision is his and his alone, and it's all on him.
Well, I think you should go with your instincts on this, Ralph.
Ralph is helpless.
You do?
But he tries again, trying to suggest it will be bad for the family if Jackie gets a pass.
But Furio took a hit. Chris, these are made men.
But Tony tells Ralph the family won't look bad, he will look bad because it's all on him. Everyone will blame him, and Tony also reminds him of when he said, be careful what you wish for, when Ralph was chasing the position of captain so hard, and he tells him there is a right decision that Ralph has to make.
Well, make sure they respect your decision, because I'm sure you're going to do the right thing. That's why I made you captain.
Ralph is begging by this point not to have to go through with it.
This is Rosalie's kid.
Tony then makes it clear that he will make it clear that Ralph's guy shot at a made man and he let it go, which will of course cause dysentery in the ranks, and the guys will talk behind Ralph's back. Already Chris is screaming at Tony that Jackie Jr. has got to go, and there's a scene where Paulie and Silvio are mocking Ralph over the card game gone wrong, making him look weak. This needs to be done and done fast to avoid the troopers becoming unstable.
Well, that's well understand if you want to give them a pass, and I'm sure everybody else will too. And who cares about shit they say? They don't have the balls to say to your face.
Tony can smell the victory, so presses further, emphasizing that it was Ralph's card game and Ralph who was insulted, and therefore Ralph who needs to do something about it, and he's going to look like a moron if he lets it go.
Kid disrespected you. But they don't have to live with your commitments. And hey, your decision goes the other way. The one thing you cannot do, Ralph, you cannot do is blame yourself.
In other words, blame yourself, Ralph. Blame yourself. The next line is ice cold from Tony. Him telling Ralph that everything that has happened is his fault, that Jackie Jr. learned what he learned from him, and he takes pleasure in that Ralph flaunted Tony's authority by dragging Jr. into the life, and look what it did.
You took this kid under your wing. You schooled him as best you could. Didn't you?
Ralph makes one last-ditch attempt, trying to evade responsibility and blame Jackie Sr., maybe even Tony by that logic, as the two are close.
Jack spoiled him.
Sure, Jackie Sr. spoiled him, but I think that has less to do with the card game robbery and more Ralph giving him a gun and pumping him full of unhelpful stories. And then, the slam dunk, the ace in the hole. Tony produces the gun he had throughout the entire conversation, the gun he knows Ralph gave Jackie Jr. that symbolizes Ralph's devilish seduction of Jackie Jr., his reckless mentoring that has caused all this damage. Victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan, and Ralph leaves the restaurant with a bewildered look on his face, outmatched and outsmarted, boxed into a corner, faced with the reality of what he has to do. It's such a great scene. Both men are bitter rivals, both know this is all smoke and stage play, but in the moment, Tony held all the cards and he outplayed Ralph. There is so much contempt on Tony's face as he says, "Didn't you?" His expression lacks any warmth and compassion because he's saying the exact opposite of what he's speaking. He's sadistically enjoying punishing Ralph because A, he hates him and wants him to squirm, and B, if it wasn't for Ralph, Jackie Jr. wouldn't have done what he did, so Tony wants Ralph to feel the full weight of what all this entails. Ralph's a fool to do Tony's dirty work. Tony wants this situation to be on Ralph as it was his screw-up, and if Ralph spared Jackie Jr., then the blowback from the crew would be on Ralphie. And if Ralph kills him, well, then problem solved and there's no guilt to be had. Jackie Jr. breaks protocol, though, by ringing Tony in his home and pleading for his life, forcing an impatient Tony to tell Ralph in another great scene that he needs to get on with it, that whatever decision is made needs to be made in a timely fashion. I wonder if Jackie Jr. kept his head down, if he could have eventually been forgotten about, if Ralph paid concessions to the likes of Chris and Furio, and eventually things slowly smoothed out. I doubt it, but as usual Jackie Jr. sought the easy way out, and it forced Ralph to make the decision which he was delaying at that point. And all the other things Tony was saying, people talking behind your back, things like that, were veiled threats that if Jackie Jr. gets a pass, then life is going to become very hard for Mommy's little whore. That he could even be killed for it by one of the other guys. Anyway, $4 a pound. Let me know what you think of this scene down in the comment section below, and where you think this ranks among The Sopranos' greatest scenes. Thanks for watching.